Hello, good morning. Ah, it's exciting to be back here on this space with all of you. Welcome back to those of you that watched my first podcast, and welcome to newcomers to the second podcast. I'm Sally Jerney Quilts on Instagram, and that's SALLYJERNEY Quilts, QUILTS. And on YouTube, I will get into the story about why this is, but on YouTube, it's Sarah, SARAH, space Jerney, JERNEY, on YouTube. So, however you find it. My daughter will put the notes on so that you can get to it easier. I'm new at this. Anyway, last time I was on this space, I had the wonderful, I don't know, just the wonderful feeling of sharing Grandma Johnson's quilts with you and how that exploration into her history and my history intertwined together to come up with these lovely little Dresden plate, 1930s Dresden plate reuse of trees and circles. And maybe you should just get one tree just to show them what we're talking about. Anyway, about a week ago, December 1st, you just grab one off the wall. December 1st, last week, I was at Megan Heil's Madison Chocolate Company for a holiday fair. And we were there with several other artists. It was a fun day, other than the fact it was raining in Madison all day long. So Santa Claus was out on the Monroe Street trolley in the rain. That wasn't great. But there were a lot of people that came out to see us, and I enjoyed talking with many of the people that came to my table. I had written out the story of Grandma Johnson's quilts, which I want to try and incorporate into an article of some sort, an interview or something, to get it out to the public, because the story itself has gone so much farther than what I intended when I began, and I was just open to just basically using Grandma Johnson's fabric in my quilts, but it went into finding out when she was born, when she came over from Norway, what her life was like, and finding that she was just a fabulous woman, someone to be very proud to have in your ancestry, and also to find out that the much maligned Grandma Johnson Dresden plate quilt was actually all hand pieced. All the little white stitches were all done by hand. It was a lovely thing for me to be reminded that I didn't really know everything. I shouldn't be so judgmental. So anyway, it was a good humbling experience to realize, whoa, I can't remember. I don't even know if I'd sit down and do that kind of work now. Anyway, so I have more things I want to show you that I have done with her fabrics since that time, and I'll just quickly go through that. And then I wanted to show, I'm going to be taking some of my quilts over to Madison Chocolate Company this afternoon to be up for the holiday. There's some bare wall spaces that Megan would like to have some fabric on. It warms things up, and it feels good to me to have my quilts out there sharing with the public. They will be available for sale, so if you're in the Madison area, if you want to just come in and look at them, or if you're looking for a Christmas gift for somebody or for yourself. I always like to find things for myself too when I go to these holiday fairs. Anyway, so I'm going to start with, last time I was working mostly on these little trees, and I ended up making, I believe, 48 of these. And next time when I get the actual project done, I will show you. I had a 36, 6 by 6 inch square of these little trees, and you have to realize that they're all different colors and backgrounds, and the backs are all different. They're just charming when they're in a group. And so instead of selling off that 36, I'm going to somehow incorporate them into a into one piece that is, it sort of reminds me of a 1930s rendition of Andy Warhol, how he would take a figure and have it done, in repetition over and over in a different colorway. And that's what these trees look like. So it becomes a very modern composition, which surprised me because, it's such a sort of homespunny, calico, for heaven's sakes. But they're just darling, and I'm so glad. So I made those 36, and then I kept having the pleasure of coming upon scraps of fabric that I had stuffed in various different places. So even after Megan's holiday fair, I came home and I thought I was all done, and I reached into my little treasure box of where I keep leftovers from other quilts, and lo and behold, there was like 3/4 of a Dresden plate in there that it was like buried treasure. I was able to make 3 more trees and cut umpteen circles. And I had started to show you how when I got all the trees cut last time, I discovered that there was fabric left over that I didn't want to waste. And so I started cutting circles, and I made a couple of long strips of circle quilts, so they're 5 circles in the orbit. So I've given those away. I gave one to Megan and one to my dear friend Mary. So they've found happy homes. But I also since then have made, well, I started with this one first. And I still have my lovely assistant here, Jackie from Cady Knits. Cady Jax Knits. C-A-D-Y.
No, it's fine. It's Cady Jax with an X. It's okay. My own mother doesn't know.
I know how to find it. I just don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
Anyway, check that out. Anyway, so she's my lovely assistant to hold quilts up.
Do you want me to hold this up? And you're just going to talk about...
I do. I want you to...
Oh, I'm a little close, though.
This
so
is...
I actually...
Yes. This quilt is what happens when you take the circles and just put them in a very simple, basic quilt formation. I think it's a 4x5 circles, and I don't know if it comes across in the thing, but it's just absolutely stunning to see those little Dresden plate fabrics over and over.
I'm going to show a close-up.
I mean, I just love it. It turned out to be just this soft pastel.
I'm sorry, I'm covering your face.
Okay.
I don't quite know how to do
There
this.
we go. There's one, and I just rough edged them
are
down.
these her stitches that you were talking about, or is
her
that you?
stitches? Wherever the orange stitches are mine, but wherever you see the little tiny, and it's usually not when it's like where the white joins it.
Oh,
you see where the white is?
I don't, but I'm gonna let you hold it back there.
They're right here. It's whenever there's a space where it's been sewn down to the background, that's her stitches. And so this whole quilt is filled with her stitches and my stitches, which is the symbolic thing of, I always say that when I'm quilting and when I hand quilt things, because I do all my quilting by hand, it slows me down. I take the time. My life is quilted into my life is stitched into the quilt, whatever's going on in my life. And the realization is that was the same thing that Bertha Johnson did, was her life was stitched into the quilt. And so now, by taking her quilt, I've moved it into, 2020 and beyond, because now we're both together in one fabric. Anyway, it's very simple. Then I did another one that has...
Yeah, you can hold that one.
Yes. This was one that turned out, I loved how the background fabrics sort of have a snowy look to them.
I love this one. This is something I've loved my whole life about being around you, is you just lose yourself in the fabrics.
I know, the fabrics are awesome. And then the other thing that I did that, I have them on just about everything, is I started to use... the labels in my quilt. Can you show them the label? And so I had kind of fun putting, there's a lot of, I don't know if you can, I started even when I got ready for the show, I realized that I even had little tiny scraps, and I think that's on, if you would grab one of those 3 things, the 3 trio trees, the backs of those with the label, this is what I'm talking about. I started making labels that used the fabric and made little trees out of those. So I was just feeling like in this flow of, the 1930s women, due to the Depression and all that, were so frugal, they didn't waste anything. And so it just felt like being in keeping with that era to even use the labels. So anyway, that is where I have left Grandma Johnson's Quilts. I have every intention to get her story published. I'll keep you up on that. I have a few more things I'm making. I mean, I'm down to where I just have these little pieces of her things. I even have, like a little Christmas ornament that I made for us. So not much fabric left, but I'm going to use every bit of it. I have a work in, should I show the work in progress? Okay. This is one that I have that I'm working on right now, which is just a different, it's a very beautiful. Subtle colors.
Oh, wow. And I love I'm sorry, but I love your thread, because the thread changes color too.
Oh, I know. I just treated myself to another half dozen of those. Oh, and then show the back of this.
The light isn't as, this is just luminescent but it's kind of dark in
the
here.
Back is a 1950 sheet that was my mother and father's.
Oh.
And I love that backing, because I don't know why she kept that particular sheet, but I just had that one sheet from the 50s, so I try to use that.
Well, and can I just quick say, this is somebody's shirt,
mm-hmm.
Whatever, sorry.
Okay, so then that is what I have to say about Grandma Johnson's quilt for now. Then I thought what I'd try to...
Do quilters want to know, and I'm so sorry to interrupt you, do they like to know what kind of batting you use? Or thread or anything like that? Do they ask you?
Well, they do ask me. I mean, I use a poly-filled batting for a lot of it, but I also use cotton batting. Depends on what I have and how thick I want it to be.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be it. And, and then it's just a question of I use the mostly Gutermann threads, plus the sulky variated ones, which I have one right here.
Variegated.
Variegated, yes.
Yeah, these are
those are the luminescent ones that I just love. And I went on site to order, because the color that I've been using, what she's using for me up there, I am just about out of, so I went to reorder it, and they had a 1 day 40% off. So I couldn't resist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in looking back over the year, that's the end of the year as the Grandma Johnson. Then I just wanted to kind of step back, because some of these quilts will be going to Megan's shop, and who knows what happens to them then. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. And this is a quilt that I made at the beginning of the year, right during the holiday season. I don't know whether you can...
I can hold it.
Okay. Because it's good to get a distance on this. And this quilt is called The Little Seed. And what this is, what happens with this quilt when I stand back from it is a reminder of, in my yoga class, Carla is my yoga instructor, and she's just lovely. But anyway, she always says at the end, when it's all nice and you've gone through your whole routine, you just curl up like a little seed, which means you're on your back, you have your knees up, you're holding your knees, and you have your head up, and you're rolling yourself into a little ball. And so she's always talking about that we're seeds and we're planted, and see how we grow. And so when I got this done, I'm seeing, the knees are up there, and then the person is lying on the ground here with their head up in a ball. It's abstract, but that's what this reminds me of. And this is done.
I just want to bring it a little closer.
Okay.
Sorry. I also just like to see.
Yeah, it's a bright. It felt very good to make that last year, and I think I was doing it right after Christmas, so that I have pictures of me doing it with the Christmas tree lights on, so it's a good place to start. And it's one that has fabrics from my drop cloth. A lot of these are from the drop
which
cloth.
you'll hear more about later.
Yeah, which we'll hear more about later, because I have. So we have that one, and then I did, which is something I want to take a little bit of time with. I can't do all of these.
Oh, I love this series.
This series, and I think of this series as in progress. I'll probably get back to this in January, depending on if I want to be doing white on, I call it my mostly white on white quilts. And what these are is, I've got 4 of them. They are showcasing, each one of them has some kind of fabric from family history, or
this
like
is
an
Mike
old,
and Claudia's wedding dress.
right, something that some sort of special. I have
What's
been
this?
wanting to do that. Is from my father's silk robe from Okinawa, so that's basically about 60, almost 70 years old. And one of them's there's a shirt that was, I think this was Grandpa Jim's shirt, so there's family connections, but it's mostly just the idea that it's the neutrals. I've been wanting to do a whole neutral quilt, and I just find them fascinating, how they're fun to do stitches on, because the stitches really
I wish you could see also, Mom, but like if you, I guess I could put it over here, like what's this about?
That is also part of that bathrobe. That's the sash holder, So
and then this right here.
That is a family, a tablecloth that I've been working on, taking.
And I'm sorry, like you're stitching on here. What was this about? These little squares?
Those are, let me see because I can just see it from the back. Oh, this is a blouse, and so it was just kind of see how
in the blouse.
No, it wasn't in the blouse. I mean, that's how I decided to.
Oh, I love that,
because it kind of reinforces the buttonholes, is what that is. And what I love about the buttonholes on here is when I was making these, my great niece Madison was here with us, and I was kind of looking at these before they were quilted, and I had said to her,
"Oh, you're referring to these."
I'm referring to the buttonholes. I was referring to maybe I put button, and she said, "No, I don't want to see buttons coming out of those. I just want to see the buttonholes. I love that."
Yeah.
And so I just love when people add their story into it. So now I have a Madison story in here, which always, because she's one of my, she shows a lot of interest in my work, and I just love that the younger generation, she's 20-something, 24 maybe, 22. Anyway, so here's the third one, and this has Grandma Alice's handkerchief in the middle of
the
it.
Floral?
The floral part. And that really, I mean, when I was a little girl, my Grandma Alice, who I just adore, had a wicker basket full of hankies. I guess it was very common at that age, in that time. And she had embroidered them, and they had intricate corners on them. And, when I was a little girl visiting her, I would take that basket out, and I had a beautiful little stuffed animal from Austria, a little lammy is what I called it. I think it was I can't even remember the fancy, he was quite a pedigree as far as lambs go. And so I would just take a little hat pin, and I'd pin the tip of the hanky, and then she'd have the veil swirling off behind her. And I don't have many of those, but that's just what that reminds me of. Okay, so this is my 4th one, and this is, I think, my favorite. It's supposed to be upside down. The pocket is upside down.
Okay.
So that has a pocket, and I'm not sure if that's from you or from, I don't remember. I mean, it's one of you. Mine. It's one of the ladies in the family. And then if you can see where there's a hand embroidered tablecloth in there, kind of that's what this is down here.
Okay.
And there was a mend in it. And that's what's circled right there.
Oh, right here.
And it's like the treasure. I mean, because my God, I mean, it probably had been my grandmother, and it was probably my great-grandmother's cloth. And it just reminds me that we would, in our day and age, we just don't take the time to treasure something and make this intricate little mend. We're learning. I mean, there are a lot of people now that are taking on mending to a new art. And that is that's just beautiful. So anyway, that's and I've got more fabric, so I'll be progressing on. How are we doing?
It's fine.
Okay. Okay, so I want to go to these couple of
Now, you mentioned this is your drop cloth series, is all I'm going to say, and you haven't discussed the drop cloth at all.
Oh, the drop cloth.
And so that's why I was looking at you.
Well, the drop cloth was, I don't have the main quilts that I did with that, but the drop cloth was basically a painting cloth that I've had for probably 20 years. And I was up painting the boys' bedroom and was I was enjoying painting the boys' bedroom, but it took me days on days. And I kept looking down at the drop cloth and going, wow, this is, that looks like this, and I can see a person in there, and, all these abstract, I have pieces of it. Things like this, little treasures. I mean, my God, look at that. But there were all kinds of those things within this very large drop cloth. And so I decided that fabric, it's time to harvest it. I don't know if you can see it. It's very subtle here, but that's kind of got a stain of probably varnish or something. Cloth. Yeah, the drop cloth. And so the drop cloths add a dimension of surprise to the quilt. So a lot of my quilts now will have a piece of it. Did I show this one yet? No. So this has a piece of drop cloth. Just.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, this is one that I made. It's a Door County quilt. We go to Door County every summer, and I try to have something that I'm working on up there, and it takes all the family stories and good times, and it's in the stitching in here. So this quilt has been photographed on both sides of Lake Michigan. It's been over on the bay side, which is what the title refers to as bay watching, because I would be quilting on this while I'm watching the teenager fishing, and the colors were just so like this. The marina, the boats, the water, it just was something about the latticey work in here. But anyway, so this is from that summer series. Yes, you can.
I don't know.
And it has, it has a little bit of my kimono quilt in it. Jackie's fingers are right on that.
Sorry, you mean the other side?
Yeah, right there.
This?
Yeah, well, I think you could say, I can't.
Okay, sorry.
But anyway, so there's quite a few history fabrics in here. Megan will recognize this. This is Jackie's first teaching job for interview blouse. The buttons, the kind of starburst. So anyway, I love doing that one. And then this is a piece of fabric I got off the internet, and I don't remember the source, which I feel bad about. So if anybody knows that, it is just gorgeous. Very silky lawn fabric. Anyway, so that's the Door County one. Then I have, I just want to take a breather and go, this is fun. I don't know how many quilts you want to see, but the ones that are going to Megan's, I definitely want to put up here. This is one that I made in the summer, and everybody had left me alone.
Oh my God,
that was
colors.
When you went off with your cousins to Governor Dodge camping. And it's inspired by what's behind you.
Oh, well,
all those yarns, just tons of those yarns.
You
shells.
can see.
Yeah,
this is
shells. Yeah. It was just like shells and yarn and driftwood and everything just piled. So I just sat here and had I had a couple days to myself, and I just made that quilt. And it's just colors. It's got that wintry sunset kind of feel to it, or sunset any time of the year. I just love it.
Yeah, So pretty. Sorry, I'm just trying to, you know, let some light, real natural light touch it.
Yeah, because that's the thing with quilts. They really do need to be seen in person.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll do our best. And like I said, those of you in Madison Chocolate Company, come by.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cute. I used this for a bag. I know this is a Liberty of London. And I see in here, I used this. Not that anybody cares,
No.
but I made an outfit for Heron out of
I know,
this.
that goes way back.
Yeah.
That's it. Because I love Japanese fabrics. That's kind of
Yeah.
I have always.
Yeah.
When I was a little girl, I lived on Okinawa, so when, my dad was stationed there. So I just have this connection. And so what I tend to do is I make a big quilt and then I'll make small quilts. And I kind of, should we show them the big quilt now or?
Sure, I guess I'll
as
get
long
up and
as
do
we
that.
have,
Whoa.
whoops.
Okay.
In the summer, I culled through my fabric and I had about 40-gallon bags of scraps that I put them out. They were all on the floor in my sewing room, and it was, called friends to come over and pick them.
Did you take a picture of all those bags?
I do. I have a picture.
If I can figure it out, maybe I can try to insert it.
It was exciting, but there was this one particular bag that kept looking at me and going like, how I know you people that love fabric, you'll understand. If you take fabric and you put it in a different configuration, you just turn the pile over and move it around, it just speaks to you. It kind of goes like, whoa, look at me, you're not really giving me away, are you, And so I thought, wow, I think I'm gonna keep that one. Other people had been and already culled through them, and I thought that one I'm gonna keep. And so I decided to make it just evolved into, I even hate to admit this, I started making it, and if I can ever get a picture of that, it had a apron of my grandmother's in it with owls, these kind of funky, cheeky owls. And I was trying to make a quilt with that, and they kept going like, oh, God, no, I don't want to do this. And so after, having my panel of judges that I have here, my daughters and a friend of mine came over and was kind of like, I could see where that kind of is just too much. So I had all these pieces that I'd worked on up in my design wall, and I took all the owl things off, and what was left was just these lovely sections of quilting that I'd put together with those scraps. So I decided to just combine them with some solids.
Yeah, I'm going to toss in a section right now, just so that people can have a
the one
reference.
Facing me.
Yeah, so, these pieces
they were just
are the scraps.
Some of my favorite.
Okay.
You should see the back of what you're looking at.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, that's just like you're facing me. And so what I decided to do was to make they're based on a brick. It's like about a 3 by 6 inch brick, and I put them up on the design wall, add filler pieces, and just actually, that's my favorite way of designing quilts, is they all get designed as we go on the design wall. So they're, that you can see kind of what unifies is that I make them into a...
I'm having technical difficulties.
There you go. We make them into rectangles, and then it's always like a fun puzzle to figure out how they're all going to go together and what filler and how the color works in, and I'd pull it out of my skin. So it's like it's a colossal mess in here while I'm doing that. But that quilt just was like, it feels like it was just pulled from the bag that was off to the universe, got pulled back, and I just, I don't know, so it's kind of like a stolen quilt, sort of, in a way. I don't know, but anyway, I love it.
I'm going to try to come in again, even though it's hard, because, again, the light is so bad from the back, so.
And this one also has a lot of your wedding quilt, your wedding fabric in it.
And I was fine with letting go of that,
it's
just letting it be a part
of it has just been wonderful. So anyway, that's a cool. I think I'm
The
gonna
back.
put a sleeve on it.
What's in the back, by the way?
The back is, it's just a fabric I got at Joann Fabrics,
okay.
which is like I was in there, they had
Yeah.
it on special, and I
Yeah.
thought, ooh, I can't
Just
remember, it's a Swedish designer.
Love these pieces. I mean, they're so much fun.
Yeah, they
Okay.
are. I mean, well, they just go. They have, without realizing it, they're not. They're it's just hard. They've cut. They're put together, cut apart, put together, cut apart, put together in so many different configurations that it's impossible to even share how they're done. I mean, I think I'd have to have a camera on me watching, because it's like they eventually get into a geometric form, because I think that really unifies it.
Yeah.
But up until that time, it's just like cut,
And Mary made a quilt from.
Oh, that was the other delightful thing, is that my friend Mary, who had come over and gotten, I think, 5 or 6 bags or something, and she went home with her 5 or 6 bags, and God, it didn't seem like it was more than a week or two, and I've got her something to show you, and so she brings over the quilt. It's now on her bed. That it was like, she said, I just think of this as my Sally quilt, and it was full of, I could say, yeah, that's from that quilt, that quilt. It was just, it's such a story. It has so much more, I don't know. It felt very good to see that done. A friend across the street, Rebecca, took
And
quilts.
Caitlin took some too.
And Caitlin took some, and we just, so those things are being...
Well, and we said it on our knitting podcast, the way you've collected fabric over time is so different than just going out and buying fabric for a project that's all just contemporary of that moment. Your fabric is just imbued with history and time, and so that sense comes through.
Yeah, I sometimes, wish I kept better records of where but that's just the way it is. It's like I look at fabric as paint, and so...
And she has on the top of her pile one that I've kept for me.
She keeps, whenever I'm trying to put
I'm just
she wants this, so she pulls it out. So I think it's a Jackie one.
Yes.
Even Caitlin from her dear friend Caitlin goes, it's got a C on it. Doesn't that mean something?
But these are my pants.
Yeah. Those are Jackie's beloved pants. I love it. It's a beautiful pale pink, and it's just a beautiful texture, feeling of that fabric. I just adore it. So that's in there.
And this is that drop cloth.
There's drop cloth in there, and and so there's just kind of a feeling, and then there's a little Cape Cod shibari, whatever. There's a little piece of her fabric. I had a little bundle of hers.
I don't know who that is. But...
She's from Massachusetts, and she does dyeing and. But anyway, this was another one.
I love this.
This is these are the drop cloth.
Yeah,
this
is drop cloth. Look at that.
So they're just kind of, I think they set a mood. I love the kind of,
gorgeous.
You can read into it whatever you want.
Oh, I love this one. I love this one. Oh.
And then this was one that we were working on. I have pictures of this we took it to Olbert Garden, and I was working on it last winter, and it was just, they were beautiful, like a few fresh green, that really bright spring green leaves that I photographed with it, and just, so it's kind of like part of that. I was doing a lot of white on white with the drop cloth added in there. I still have more ideas I want to do with those. I'm trying to think. Here's a couple more that, so I'm not sure which. This is probably going to go off to Megan's. It has a little bit more indigo, that kind of a moody, but the whole border is the drop cloth. And this was one that was just kind of funky. I was doodling on the drop cloth.
Right here.
Yes. So I just placed that on there because I liked it.
Well, she used to do all these doodle drawings with my sons, and we framed some of those.
So they're, And this is another one that has kind of a,
And this one's going to Megan's.
And this is another kind of in a different light. This is a little splash of green drop cloth.
Oh, right there. That's the drop cloth. Okay, I missed it. Yeah, that's fabulous. Oh my gosh, and the fabric on the back is fabulous too.
Yeah, so that'll...
Oh, so pretty.
And then we just have, I have the ones behind me, but let me just do these. These are just
Okay, and we just
couple
have a
more.
couple more, and then
Yeah.
we're going to Megan, so
Yes.
because we have to get going.
yes.
Oh, look at you! I love it that you just left the the salvage right in there. The words.
I do like to show fabric for
what it is. Like here, and do you see here is salvage too?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And if I find a hole in the fabric, I love to incorporate that. And this was just another colorway. These were actually, I sometimes have a quilt that I just basically cut up and make into smaller quilts because I didn't like how the piecing went on the whole thing. So these are just a series of, yes. But anyway, last year, what I have behind me, and we can take those down too.
Maybe.
Should we just take them down?
Yes.
Okay.
Oops. You can see our high tech.
Excuse me, Matt. You just. Anyway, I have.
Forgive us. There, I should have covered while you were doing that, and nobody would have known.
Yes, because I keep that design wall all. Anyway, I made a quilt.
You keep that design wall blank for a reason, right?
I do, so that it keeps my. I like to have my palette free. In here, I pretty much have this beautiful pale green.
I'm just flashing them before so you can talk about them.
What this was, there's two other quilts that go with this, and one has gone off to a, is it okay if I say that? Or no, I shouldn't because it hasn't arrived yet.
Yeah, you don't want to give anything.
It's gone off to a surprise place for somebody.
Oh, so beautiful.
We admire and wanted to.
Yes.
Anyway, so that one, and there's another one that goes into my living room downstairs that we have. But these were, it was quite a large, large piece if you imagine 4 of those. And I made that after the present administration was elected, just right during that time where we were into, oh my God, I can't really believe this has happened. And so I was up here working because there was things.
We're in the United States.
Yeah, we're in the United States, yes. And so it was kind of a slump period, but I just decided to come up and, like I do with everything, I quilt while I'm in despair as
Sorry,
well.
Mother.
So I made this quilt, and it was, I called it Turbulence, and it was done by last Christmas, and it just bothered me that that's what it was about. And so I just took that quilt, because I have to say that this particular fabric in here, it's a vintage Japanese fabric that is, that deep indigo, almost black. It's just gorgeous. It's homespunny. You just can't describe. You can't buy this stuff out it's hard to find. Other than my dear friends on Instagram that I keep seeing their stuff going like, oh my God, I wish I was next door to that person and I could just get the scraps off the floor. But anyway, so I try to contain myself. But anyway, the Jane Antonovich, who is from Antonovich Design, she said, after I had a show in my house, and she said, oh, would you like to have the bottom? I'm getting a vintage Japanese jacket hemmed, and I'm sure there's going to be leftover. And I said, oh, I'd love to, not knowing that it was going to be something as incredibly gorgeous as this, because, these lines. But anyway, so I came home one day, and there was this little pile of, just this darling little scrap of this. And so
that fabric feels amazing. A little pile of Japanese fabric feels nothing like a little fabric.
Oh, I know, because it's so rough, isn't it? It's like the stuff, I have a whole basket up there, and we should bring that down.
And then we've got to end.
Yeah, then we've got to end. This is a whole basket of these kind of things that I have in here. I've made quilts out of them. They are a gift from Junko Stewart, who gave me those way long time ago. She's a music teacher of Joe when he was just a little 3-year-old, and he's now almost 15. Anyway, so this quilt, this is the last thing I have to say about the quilt, was I just decided to release the negative energy from it, the chi. And, Jane, it's true. I took it, I sliced it, and this is a completely, be courageous with your quilts. I cut it in 4, and I rebound it, and that the chi was released, and the quilts themselves have nothing to do with the negativity of that period. I mean, they are just vibrant, they are, and they just, it's like, wow, I'm so happy that I did that. And every time I've ever taken a completed quilt and chopped it up, the results have been better than could have been hoped for, I guess. It's, just so.
A leap of faith.
A leap of faith. Don't be afraid to take something that you've done and reuse it, because it's just fabric, really. It's all it is. It's just fabric. Don't be afraid. So, anyway, it has been just a marvelous time spent with you. I kind of got talking more than I intended to, and we're going to go off to Madison Chocolate Company now. It's our, every other week we go up there for knitting and stitching and friends, and so it's delightful.
And ghost pepper caramel latte.
Yes, right. And Megan Heil with her lovely personality and presence and warmth.
Yes.
So it's all decorated for Christmas, and that'll get me in the mood. I have a tree that needs to be done.
There, I'm putting your hands down.
Okay. So anyway, I am happy to be with you. I'm looking forward to doing more of these. It just kind of wowed me to see that so many people watched. Thank you very much. This is for my family, but I'm glad all of you are here too, because it does feel wonderful. Anyway, take care. Happy New Year, Merry Holidays, and all that to each and every one of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.